Boom! What is going on, guys? Sean Boyle here. In this video, I'm going to show you how Momentum 360 built a successful remote sales team, how you can copy the same strategy and use it for yours. What's going on, guys? If you haven't yet, go to our YouTube channel, click subscribe, and click that little bell too, so you get notifications whenever we post a new video. You will be the first person to know. Thank you so much for the support, and now the video you've been wanting to watch. Right, what is going on, guys? Hope everybody is well. Apologies for my face cam here lagging. Not really sure what's going on, but I'm sure you can hear me in real time. So guys, we are on my author page on entrepreneurship.com, where I really talk about a lot of different things. I want to give a big shout out first and foremost to my director, John McKnight, who actually wrote a lot of these successful articles right here. I think this one in particular, 5 Reasons You Need Professional Content in Your Business, was like number 3 on all of entrepreneur.com, which is insane and unbelievable and amazing. But that just reflects the talent and the skill that John has. But we talk a lot about 360 virtual tours, obviously photography, growing your business, how to do this, how to do that. In this one, I'm going to show you how to build a remote sales team. And I think it's a good time to talk about this because the market, as we know, is shifting, right? A lot of people are working primarily remote. They go into the office maybe once or twice a week, and a good majority of our salespeople are fully remote. They choose not because they don't want to go into the office, but because they're far, they have other things that they need to do. So they primarily work from home, which is okay. You know, I like to say, if you get your work done, that's all we care about. If you have that level of quality of work, I'm totally okay with that. I don't go to the office every single day and show your face. That's like an old corporate mentality. And here at Momentum 360, we abandon that. We don't have that corporate mentality. You are essentially your own boss when you work for us. That's kind of the epitome of our management style, which has worked pretty well for us. But more importantly, guys, this article I wrote right here is going to be going on entrepreneur.com, and I kind of just want to showcase what the article is and kind of walk you through how we built the sales team that we did. So before I start, I'll preface this by saying in 2020, that's when I really took over the reins for growing 360, and we really just had me. And what was interesting was we had a virtual graduation, and then everything really took a turn in the marketplace, corporate especially, where people would just work from home, obviously due to COVID, but it's kind of stayed that way, right? Where people are not only working from home, during COVID, but now they're doing it now. And they're not, I don't think there's going to be a change, honestly. I mean, who would want to go back into the office after being told, yeah, you can work from home 3-4 days a week? I mean, it's an unbelievable thing to have if you're doing the work, honestly, right? So I'll say this, the first thing I want to talk about is finding the right people, right? If you don't have a team yet, the biggest thing you need to do is think about the people that you want to have on your team, okay? For sales, obviously you need to have people that are confident, that have a certain bravado about them. But the 3 key things that I've really been able to, I would say, identify for finding people that are good for Momentum 360, not your company, but people who are good for us, is having impeccable character who they really don't just care about themselves. They care about the company and its values more, which is extremely important. It's not the most important thing because they're not going to steal from you. They're not going to steal your ideas. They're not going to steal money. They're going to be very loyal and they're going to understand what is at stake here. Second thing is being coachable. If I can tell someone, hey, like this is what's wrong with this call recording, this demo, let's fix this, fix that. They're not going to give me a big emotional pitch of, oh, well, I wasn't feeling good that day, blah, blah, blah. There's not going to be any excuses. They're essentially just going to leave their ego at the door and be like, okay, 100% Sean, that's totally fine. I understand that. I'm going to make a better choice next time when I'm faced with an opportunity, and I'm going to do exactly what you say. And that's it, right? That's being coachable. I think a lot of people are very emotional in the workplace and they have some sort of an excuse and they like to link it with other things. You just drop your ego at the door and drop all your emotions at the door and just move on. It's amazing how much work not only gets done faster, but the quality of work, it gets done in the exact way that you think that would have been the way. So it's really interesting thought process there. The last thing is being a quick thinker. So someone who can really think on their feet when they're especially on a cold call or a demo. If someone hits them with a certain objection, that person needs to think of something immediately that's creative, that's clever, and not only is clever and creative, but goes along with the process of closing. So for instance, like if someone says to me, oh, well, we just had this new construction thing, renovation for our building, what would you recommend us do? Like, I don't want to shoot, before the renovation's due. You got to have a way of combating that, because the person, the prospect, the lead just gave an objection. They want to hold off and they shoot until the renovation's done, but who knows when that's going to happen? It's construction. It could take weeks, months, years even. So when is it going to be a good time to shoot? You need to figure that out. You need to reverse engineer the situation, and you need to say, what I would say is, oh yeah, that's also fine. What I would recommend is we pencil in a date for a tentative date that you would suggest, and then you give us a deposit. This way we get a little bit of money reserving that deposit, and if we need to change it, that's totally fine. So this way you at least have some money rather than no money. That's what I would recommend. All right, so this is the first thing. Let me know if you guys have questions, obviously in the comments below, but this is what I would recommend. So the expectations, talking about our next point, is really, really crucial as well, because as you guys can imagine, and this is something I didn't do well at all beginning this entire process, but you need to set clear, itemized expectations for your sales team. If they don't understand what they're doing and the expectations and the daily duties of what they're going to be doing, then there's almost no point in growing the sales team, because they're not going to adhere to what you're talking about. And they're certainly not going to be at the level of caliber that you need them to be. So as you guys will read right here, this is the epitome of this point, where you'll be required to adhere to your quota each week. If you do not hit the quota for 2 weeks in a row, then we put you on a PIP, a performance improvement plan, until you make up the lost ground. If within 2 weeks of not hitting their PIP, they are officially fired, okay? And that might seem harsh right off the rip from reading it, but in all honesty, we're in the business of making money. We're in the business of creating an impact. And I firmly believe, I don't know about you guys, but I firmly believe in charging as much as humanly possible for a product that serves a concrete solution to a problem and has as much value that the marketplace decides it does, right? So I think it's really important, with that being said, to hold such a severity of expectations here, because if you don't have this and it's kind of loosey-goosey and, oh yeah, like you'll hit quota next week, maybe not. Maybe they've never hit quota and you're just waiting for someone to hit quota, but they aren't, and for some reason you keep hanging on to them because you think they're going to switch, and you just need to get rid of them. You need to fire them. It's as simple as that, because they didn't have clear expectations up front. So how do you expect them to have expectations in their daily jobs? They're not going to have any of that. So you need to start it from the upfront, which is the biggest thing. Okay. Just like I said, this is a business and it should be treated as such. And like I said, as corporate as it sounds and as uncorporate as 360 is, it'll really save you time and money from giving clear expectations, because you're going to be saving time, because if that person isn't a good fit and doesn't adhere to the expectations, you can get rid of them and replace them with somebody. And the same thing is, maybe you pay someone a stipend 1 month and they're following expectations, but the next month they completely drop off and that's it. So you really only paid someone 1 month instead of maybe 6 or 12 months because you thought they were just going to change. Okay, so that's what I would recommend doing. Moving on. So the third point I want to talk about is onboarding and training. So for onboarding, we really like to have a full week for our rep to go through this process, where we meet 3 times with me and the prospect, half hour each. We discuss the SOP, technology, questions, pitching, all this kind of stuff. We go over mock calls and mock demos, stuff like that. And each of them are required to listen to 5 successful cold calls a day, 5 successful demo calls. A successful cold call is when a random prospect agrees to have a meeting, and a successful demo is when the lead agrees to work with the company. Okay, so I personally have hundreds of these calls banked, as well as my other salespeople who have been with us for some time now, which I'm very grateful for, because I can lean on their call recordings instead of mine, because they're just as good, honestly, if not better than mine. And that just goes to the level of quality that they have and how good they are. But it's more important because once you have this training, and from the onboarding after the first week, now they go into the actual day-to-day of it, where they have a certain quota of the need to call X amount per day. Of that X amount to be called per day, you need to get X amount of demos. Of that X amount of calls that you've done that have set X amount of demos, you need to have X amount of clients, of closes, right? And if you don't have that, then that's when we start talking about a PIP, a performance improvement plan, because you're not adhering to the quota and you're not hitting it week after week, okay? This is what we do for training in a very brief synopsis. I think it's really imperative to onboard as much information to the person as possible and give them everything up front, give them so much training, almost too much information, where they can conceptualize it, understand what they need, understand what they don't need, and really just get a good game plan of what exactly they need to succeed. Because all the training and onboarding and all the success you're going to have in total from this employee or contractor, however your business is going to structure them, I firmly believe it is created in the onboarding and training process. It's not from the middle and, I shouldn't say middle, but like it's not in after you have them on full time. It's before. You need to set that standard. Okay. Moving on, let's talk about daily communication. So once you've been with us for a couple weeks, you're hitting quota, you're doing really well. We maximize, to the best of our ability, efficiency. We really want to be as efficient as possible. So how do we do that? For us, we have an hour that's solely dedicated. It actually is at 2:00. So in about 2 hours, we'll have this meeting with the team. But essentially, it talks about call recordings, objection handling, scripts, new ideas, current vision, current culture, the SOP, all this stuff, right? Because I firmly believe if left to their own devices, the team overall, if they're not meeting with this person daily, then even weekly is not often enough. Weekly is not often enough. So you need to meet with them daily. Your team is going to struggle and it's not going to be as sharp as you need them to be. So I would highly recommend, if you're trying to grow a team, to have a daily call with them. Check in, have a Zoom call, have a Google Meets call, whatever it is, and just simply go over it day in and day out. It's really, really important to have that, because if you don't have that, then what do you have? Nothing. You don't have a clear, concise understanding of what this person did this day, what that person did that day. So it's important to especially go over the call recordings. That's about 90% of these meetings is call recordings, and then me talking about other ways to handle the objections, and maybe they need to increase their tonality. Maybe they need to think about the script in a different way. Maybe they need to brainstorm new ideas, all this kind of stuff, right? So let's move on. Last but not least, we're going to learn about scaling. So there's really two things that I like to do in terms of like growing a sales team. The first thing, which I've already done, is talk to the person and ask them, like maybe your best sales rep, right? And be like, hey, do you know any people, know any friends who would absolutely crush it in this role? And a good majority of the time, they will know people who are doing some sort of a sales job, and they're going to ask them, yeah, I'll talk to my friend group. We'll see what we can do. I had something that's happened last week where my best person actually was able to schedule, I think it was like 7 or 8 calls for people that are interested in doing the same thing he's doing. So that's a great example of tapping into someone who has a great network, who you can already trust because they're the best. Even if the people who are like all 7 or 8 people aren't as good as this certain person, that's okay, because they're at least good enough to have onboarded, to be hired by us. We can train them to get up to that great level that we need them to. At least they're starting from a very, very good place because they have the experience, they're entrepreneurial, and they're exactly like, I don't say exactly like, but they're friends with, so they have a lot of similar values to the person who is already with your team, okay? And the other thing I would do is just continue doing what you're doing. I would recommend hitting up LinkedIn as a really good determinant of job posting. And the reason I say LinkedIn is so good, guys, is because you get to check out someone's entire life, essentially, their profile. So you get to check out their job experience, their habits, their hobbies, their college, or maybe they didn't go to school. And you get to kind of see what their personality is like as well, from their postings, from some of the things that they've interacted with. You get so much data that's built in to all of this stuff. And it's really important because you get a good understanding, again, of if they're even worth an interview. So I think that's really important. But guys, that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button. We're almost at 2,000 subs. I think we should be able to cross that this week. And other than that, I hope you guys had a great October. It's Halloween in 5 days. A comment below what your Halloween costume is going to be. And I will see you in the next one.